My son Mason was turning 10, a whole decade. He kept proudly telling everyone, "I'm double digits now," like he had just been accepted into some secret club for older kids. Every time he said it, I'd smile because it took me right back to when he was tiny, barely reaching my knees, chasing bubbles in the backyard. Now, he was all arms, legs, and imagination. A 10-year-old boy who still loved dinosaurs and believed the best in everyone, especially family. We'd been planning his birthday for weeks. He drew his own invitations, and I printed them out. He wanted a dinosaur scavenger hunt, so my husband built little nests with fake eggs around the yard. We had mini volcano cupcakes, a pizza bar, and that gummy worm cake Mason wouldn't stop talking about. Even the lemonade had to be green, his favorite color. The guest list was small but special. His school friends, a few neighbors, my in-laws, and my side of the family. My parents, my sister Lauren, and her daughters, Ellie and Sadie. My parents RSVP'd right away. Lauren sent a thumbs-up emoji and said her girls couldn't wait. Everything seemed set. Mason was glowing with excitement. I had no reason to think anything would go wrong. But as the party started, I noticed something. Every car that pulled up wasn't theirs. Mason kept glancing toward the street, trying to hide the disappointment by running back to his friends. At one point, while setting up the cake table, he asked me if Grandma would be bringing her chocolate chip cookies like last year. I smiled and said probably, even though I already had that sinking feeling in my stomach. By the time the last guest arrived and we started cutting the cake, I knew they weren't coming. No call, no text, just silence. After the scavenger hunt and cake cutting, Mason sat down to open his gifts. He thanked everyone politely, just like we'd taught him. Then, while folding up a gift bag, he looked down and whispered, "Guess they forgot me again." That one sentence nearly broke me. When I finally got a moment to check my phone, I saw one message from my mom sent that morning at 9:12 a.m. "We're skipping Mason's birthday this year, trying to save money." No apology, no mention of a rain check, just that. I stared at the text, confused. This was the same woman I'd been helping all year, paying their plumbing bill, sending groceries when Dad was between jobs, fixing their back steps. And now they couldn't make it 20 minutes to see their grandson? I didn't respond right away. I'd already replied with, "I understand," earlier, before really thinking it through. I didn't want to ruin Mason's day by starting an argument. I told myself, but that illusion shattered the next morning. At 8:43 a.m., my phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. My sister was live. Still half asleep, I tapped it and froze. There were pink balloons, glitter, and streamers covering my parents' backyard. 2 huge cakes, one shaped like a unicorn and another like a crown. My nieces were opening gifts, a bike, a tablet. My mom was handing out treat bags. And Dad was filming everything like he was the proud director of a family event. It was a huge birthday party for my sister's girls. The same people who had no money to come to Mason's birthday had thrown a full-blown Pinterest-worthy celebration the very next day. I didn't say anything. I just showed my husband the video. He watched quietly, then set down his coffee and said one thing: "That's it, we're done. No more bills, no more groceries, no more house repairs." If they couldn't show up for our son, they didn't, and they noticed fast. At 9:00 a.m. the very next morning, someone started pounding on our front door like they were trying to break it down. It was my dad, and he was furious. When I opened the door, Dad was already mid-argument. His face was red, his voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Why didn't you pay the electricity bill this month?" he barked. "You know we count on that." I stood there, stunned. He wasn't even trying to start with a hello or ask how Mason was after his birthday. Just straight to money. I told him calmly that we weren't helping anymore, that it didn't feel right after they'd skipped Mason's party. His jaw clenched. "You're really going to punish your own parents over a kid's birthday?" That line hit harder than I expected. It wasn't the words, it was the way he said "a kid's birthday," like Mason didn't matter. I tried explaining it wasn't about the gifts or money. It was about effort, about showing up. My mom could have texted, called, something. But instead, she was laughing on a Facebook Live from a party she hosted herself. He didn't want to hear it. "Lauren needed it more," he said. "She's struggling and you're doing fine." I could feel the frustration boiling in my chest. We'd all been struggling in different ways, but apparently Lauren's problems were the only ones that counted. I told him, "That's not the point. You could have at least dropped by to say happy birthday to your grandson. He was waiting for you." Dad scoffed. "We can't be everywhere at once. And if Mason's that sensitive, maybe you should toughen him up." That was it for me. I told him to leave. As he stormed off, he muttered something about how money changes people and how he should have never expected gratitude. For days after that, the house felt tense. Mason could tell something was wrong, but I didn't want to involve him. He's too kind-hearted. He'd only try to make excuses for them, thinking it was somehow his fault. But the truth didn't stay hidden for long. 2 weeks later, my sister posted another Facebook album. The caption read, "So grateful for Mom and Dad. Couldn't have done this without their help. You two are the best grandparents ever." There it was again. Cake, decorations, gifts. My parents smiling ear to ear with her kids. My mom even commented, "Anything for my girls." Anything for her girls. Mason saw it by accident when he was scrolling through my phone. He looked up at me with those wide, confused eyes and asked, "Did Grandma forget she has a grandson?" That broke me in ways I can't even describe. I told him gently that sometimes people show love in different ways, even if it doesn't look fair. But inside, I knew that was a lie, because this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was a pattern. My parents had always favored my sister. Growing up, she got the bigger gifts, the extra attention, the benefit of every doubt. But I thought that once we had kids, things might even out. I thought being grandparents would change them. Instead, it made the favoritism louder. That night, I sat with my husband and told him everything I'd been holding in for years. How every family event revolved around Lauren's kids. How every time I spoke up, I was made to feel petty or jealous. He listened quietly and said, "Then maybe it's time we stop trying to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed." It sounded harsh, but he was right. I'd been chasing their approval for decades. Maybe it was time to stop. Still, part of me hoped they'd come around. But instead, they decided to make things worse. A few days later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my mom. Her message was short, clipped, and cold. "Your father said you're cutting us off. If that's how you feel, then don't expect us to babysit, visit, or help you anymore." I stared at it for a long time. The irony wasn't lost on me. They hadn't been around for months, yet somehow they made it sound like I was taking something away from them. I didn't reply. I didn't trust myself to. Then, a week later, my sister called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. She jumped straight in. Mom's upset. She said you're blowing this out of proportion. I took a deep breath. Lauren, they skipped Mason's birthday. They said they had no money. And the next day, they threw your daughters a party with decorations. Yeah, because I told them I couldn't afford one this year. That stopped me cold. Wait, what? You told them you couldn't afford it? Yeah, she said, sounding defensive. Mom offered to help. They said they'd cover everything if I handled the planning. I didn't think you'd mind. I was speechless for a second. Lauren, you didn't think it was weird that they were saving money by skipping our son's birthday just to pay for yours? Silence. Then a sigh. You've always been the independent one. You don't need their help like I do. That line hit like a slap. It wasn't about who needed help. It was about being treated equally. Mason didn't deserve to be overlooked just because we weren't struggling financially. I said, that's not what this is about. It's about fairness. You don't play favorites with kids. Lauren muttered something about me being too sensitive, then hung up. That night, I sat in bed replaying everything in my head. Every time I'd brushed off their favoritism growing up. Every time I'd convinced myself I was imagining it. But now, seeing Mason hurt because of it, I couldn't do that anymore. The next morning, I decided to call my mom. I didn't want to yell. I just wanted to understand. She picked up after a few rings, her tone cold. So, what is it this time? I started calmly. Mom, I just need to know why. Why was Mason's birthday less important? There was a pause on the line, and then she said something that changed how I saw everything. Because Lauren needs us more than you do. She's a single mom, she struggles, and we want to make sure her girls don't feel left out. Mason already has everything. I closed my eyes. He doesn't have you, I said quietly. He has no idea why his grandparents didn't come. He still asks about you. Her voice stayed flat. He'll be fine. You're being dramatic. And just like that, I knew it was over. They didn't see it as wrong. They saw it as justified. When I hung up, I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, numb, angry, and tired. It wasn't about money or parties or gifts. It was about being invisible to the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally. That night, Mason came into my room with a drawing he'd made. It was a picture of our family. Me, him, and my husband standing under a big sun. In the corner, he'd drawn his grandparents far away, behind a fence. When I asked what the fence was for, he said, "It's to keep them from forgetting us again." That's when I broke down. I realized that by trying to shield him from their behavior, I'd been teaching him that it was okay to accept being treated like an afterthought. It wasn't okay. Not for him. Not for me. So I decided right then, no more trying to fix it, no more making excuses. We'd stop chasing people who didn't want to be there. But life has a funny way of testing your resolve, because the final blow came just a few weeks later. About 3 weeks after that last phone call, I got a letter in the mail, an actual handwritten envelope with my mom's careful cursive on the front. Inside was a single page. "We're disappointed in how you've handled things. Family shouldn't hold grudges. If you want to fix this, you can come by Sunday dinner, but only if you're ready to apologize." I read it twice, then handed it to my husband. He laughed, but not in a mean way. More like the kind of laugh you let out when you're finally done being surprised. "Apologize for what?" he said. "For expecting them to love their grandson?" He was right. There was nothing to fix, because I wasn't the one who broke it. I didn't reply to the letter. I didn't show up for dinner. Instead, I spent that Sunday with Mason at the park. We got ice cream, built a Lego fort when we got home, and watched his favorite dinosaur movie until he fell asleep. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel anxious. I didn't check my phone, waiting for an apology that would never come. I felt free. A few months passed, with complete silence from my parents and sister. I thought maybe that was it, the quiet end to a noisy history. But then Christmas came. We got a card in the mail from Lauren, a group photo of her, her kids, and my parents sitting in front of the tree. Everyone matching in red pajamas. The caption read, "Our perfect Christmas tradition." No mention of us, no signature, just that. Mason saw it when he was helping me open the mail. He looked at it for a moment, then shrugged and said, "It's okay, Mom. We have our own tradition." He wasn't wrong. That night, we made hot chocolate, watched movies, and opened one small gift early. No drama, no guilt, just laughter. And for the first time, I realized something. Maybe peace doesn't come from fixing people. Maybe it comes from accepting that you can't. Family isn't just who you're related to. It's who shows up for you. And the people who don't? They make room for the ones who will. Now, when Mason asks about his grandparents, I tell him the truth. Kindly, but honestly. That sometimes people love you in the only way they know how, even if it's not enough. He nods, thoughtful, then changes the subject, because kids are resilient, like that. As for me, I've stopped replaying the what-ifs. I don't scroll through their photos anymore, or wonder why I wasn't enough. Because deep down, I know I did everything I could, and sometimes letting go isn't giving up. It's finally choosing yourself and the family that truly loves you back.